Hey everybody, I think we had a lot of fun with the pressing comparison last week, so I think we'll do a couple more of those over the next couple of weeks. One thing I'll mention about last week's pressing comparison that I didn't have in that video too is that it looks like some of the art on that release was AI generated, so however you feel about that too, you might want to take that into consideration. But today, let's go back to the golden age of death metal, so 1992, and talk about a classic gem from that era. So this is Deceased by Wisconsin Natives Accidental Suicide. It was originally released on October 30th, 1992 by Def Records, a label based in the UK that has long since closed. That same year, it also received an American pressing by legendary label Grindcore International, who licensed the release then from Def Records. This is that Grindcore International press, which is what I'm going to use for the comparison today, because the recent reissue was based on that Grindcore International press. The first thing that we should take in is this iconic cover art by Chris Drew. He was also the cover artist behind Baphomet's 1992 classic The Dead Shall Inherit. I love this cover. It's eye-catching, it's uncomfortable, and it's kind of surreal. The melting faces in the background remind me of Deeds of Flesh Gradually Melted that would come a few years later too. This is an album with a rich history. So Eric Grief was the producer and keyboardist on this album, who many will know as the manager of Death. He later completed a law degree, and he used that degree to represent many bands and labels. He was co-promoter of Milwaukee Metal Fest. He produced a number of other classic albums, and even was an assistant manager to Motley Crue when he was a teenager. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2021. Vocalist Ed Jackson and drummer Chris Kondritsky have also since passed away, so it can be especially meaningful to keep their legacies alive through a reissue. Since this 1992 press, the album was never reissued up until 2023. Peaceville Records finally brought this album back to life, but how did they do? Okay, so it looks like they took the album cover and just marinated it in urine overnight. The most noticeable thing is that those rich flesh tones of the original cover are gone and have been replaced with this yellowish, this kind of urine color. But hey, let's give Peaceville Records the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's many 90s death metal covers that could potentially be improved by using this urine color palette. Let's find out if that's true. I have here a vat of urine. Let's see what happens when we put some classic albums in here. Morbid Angel's Altars has now become All Turds. Clearly an improvement. Gutted's Bleed for Us to Live is now Pee for Us to Give. Autopsy's Mental Funeral becomes Fentanyl Urinal. Nocturnus's The Key simply becomes The Key. And then finally, Dismember's Like an Ever-Flowing Stream becomes, well, it's still an ever-flowing stream, but now it's pee-pee. So I think we've made a compelling case that the urine color scheme is superior. Okay, so I'm not really sure what went wrong there. I'm not a fan of that that yellow color scheme. Maybe it's the case that was what the original art looked like before they scanned it or something. I really doubt that's the case. I'm assuming the flesh tone was more what was intended, so I'm not sure what went wrong there somewhere in that process. But let's look at the rest of the layout. So when we open the case, the discs are largely similar. Peaceville did a good job of emulating the Grindcore International press here. The back of the booklets are similar, other than that the Peaceville press is in black and white. I'm not sure why they made this change, but it makes the Peaceville press look a little bit cheaper. The inside of the Grindcore booklet is very straightforward. It includes lyrics, and that's it. The Peaceville booklet is very similar in that regard. It might have been cool to add some historical photos and flyers here, but I understand the goal of just trying to be faithful to the original layout. If we pop out the disc, then we do see some differences for the inside of the tray card. The Grindcore International press was released with a black tray, so there was no graphic on the inside of the tray card. It was just that default white paper, whereas the Peaceville tray has an ultra zoom in of part of the artwork. It's this part of the cover here. So I'm not sure why they chose that tiny snippet, but it's pretty blurry when you blow it up that large. Zooming out could have produced better results, so I'm not really sure why they made that choice. It's ugly, but it's fine. The back of the tray card looks pretty similar. Peaceville were clearly aiming to keep it faithful to that Grindcore press here as well. The difference is that the Peaceville press is a little darker. The contrast is much higher on the band photo, and it looks a little bit desaturated. The Peaceville press, though, does include a nice dedication to both Ed and Chris. In terms of audio quality, both albums sound the same. I didn't notice any differences in the audio quality. And a couple of the songs have 1 extra second or 1 less second of silence. No big deals there. So what's my verdict on this? So the Peaceville press is faithful to that original Grindcore International press. Pretty much everything about the layout is very similar to what they had on that Peaceville press. My only real complaint, right, is that different coloring of the cover. So this is such an iconic cover, I think. It's surreal, those flesh tones, it's really striking. And so it's really unfortunate that whatever happened here with the coloring of the Peaceville press, that it has those yellow, that yellow tinge to it, that I think really takes away some of the power of the cover. But if you don't have the album, other than that, it is a good reissue. And if you don't have it, it's still a classic death metal album from that golden era, that early 90s era of old school death metal. So well worth picking up if you don't have it. But what are your thoughts about it? You can let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that, if you want more of these videos. But see you next time.